Hi, my name is Maisha Cairo, and you're listening to Can We Talk? Can We Talk is a podcast that focuses on socially and politically charged conversations and topics. And the overall purpose is to keep us informed. And I can guarantee you that today's conversation is going to do just that. So if you're down, stick around. It's Can We Talk? My name is Maisha Cairo, and I'm your host. Can we talk for a minute? And now I have on with me my friend, my brother, and we're going to talk a little bit about Juneteenth. So first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So you guys, today is Juneteenth, and it's the first time that America as a country is acknowledging Juneteenth as an official holiday. And it's something that the Black community, Black people, have acknowledged for years. And it's observed as the end of slavery in the United States. So it was on this day, June 19th, 1865, that the news of the emancipation reached people in the deeper parts of the former Confederacy of Texas. So what that means is that the news had just reached them. It's not like now where the news is everywhere. So which means their freedom had come much sooner than this day, but they didn't know about it. Which is really deep to me. So I don't know if you want to give some opinion on that before we get into it, but
well, I mean, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. Like just that concept of Juneteenth, like, is it's similar. Like, just because we have rights doesn't mean that we are like, it doesn't mean that just because our rights are written in law doesn't mean that we actually have them, right? And that's literally a expression that's an example of what happened, where that enslaved Black people were free, by the law, but they weren't in reality. So that happens today, as we can see. So many rights get violated.
Man, so yes, that's super deep. They were free and they didn't know. So like,
wow.
Even now, us being quote unquote in a free country, the whole spiel, American spiel. So my question to the listeners, people watching, and even to you, what does it mean when America is just now in 2021 acknowledging Juneteenth as a holiday?
I mean, well, first off, I want to say that, everything I'm saying is my personal opinion. I don't speak for the Black community. While there are definitely similarities and overlaps in experiences, I think that it's performative, or it's trying to keep us happy so that people don't protest or do X, Y, and Z. But as so many different influencers and celebrities have voiced, it's like, okay, so there's all these pledges and from different companies, and there's all this awareness raised last year for like actual change, like systemic and structural infrastructure change, that nothing has happened, whether it's defunding police or police brutality protection laws for Black folk in the US or whatever. And instead it's these things like, well, we're gonna paint Black Lives Matter on a street, right? Which is cool. It raises awareness. That's good. But like, nothing else is going to change. It's like putting a Band-Aid on, something that is like a terminal illness type thing, right?
Exactly.
And this is just another one of those things where it's like, oh, well, look what we're doing for you guys. Like, you should be happy, right? So I feel like it's just something to like keep us tame in a way to say,
I love that. I love what you're saying. And I had to check myself last year, because when the protests were happening, I was cool with the protesting, right? But then when they started looting, I kind of wanted to make excuses. And it's like the looting, like I became embarrassed as someone who was advocating when people started looting, because it's like, now they're not going to understand what we're saying, right? And I don't feel that today. Like I've grown a lot since last year in my opinions and stance on a lot of this stuff. And I feel like this system is trying to confine its citizens and we need to behave a certain way, but they can do what they want to do, you know? And of course I don't condone violence, but if you don't hear me though, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, no, yeah, I hear what you're saying, and if I get what you're saying correctly, I want to give an example to like to the 60s, where like in order to be heard, right, there's when I say that I mean civil rights movement with like, you know, MLK and everything, right? In order to be heard properly, right, we had to behave, right? Everything had to be nonviolent and peaceful. Yeah. Because if we did all this, then there's that excuse in the back of the head. Like, oh, look, see, like we should listen to them. They're breaking stuff. They're rioting, right? Right. And you know, MLK and, you know, that generation knew that. There's like, okay, if we're gonna play the game, we have to play it right, and we have to, you know, we have to behave, right? And fast forward to today, fast forward to last year, 2020. It's like, bro, we've been doing that.
Yeah, but
we've been doing it, and where's the change? Where's the change?
That's my whole point. Like, what is freedom if we can't speak? You know, if there's confinement to how we, like, what are the limits to getting what it is we are asking for as a people? You know what I mean? What are the limits? Nobody likes war, but I mean, even our government engages in war to get its point across. You know? I mean,
yeah. You look at like what did. Like it's there's this double standard and hypocrisy, right? When like, you know, what is it? The Boston Tea Party is often praised. It's praised and taught in school as, oh, look at this noble way to advocate for your rights, right? Destroying property. And I remember like historians who evaluate how much was lost. There's like millions and millions of dollars lost, you know, in tea, you know, and that's what's different from that in writing.
Nothing.
And but that's looked at as like, oh look, you know, the American Revolution is they were standing up for their rights because and what was the chant that they said, you know, for the whole movement was no taxation without representation, right?
Okay.
How much are black people represented in America? Like actually, in actuality, not these like not just a face of something, but how much are we actually represented? Like when you look at these voter suppression laws or all these things in the South, where like I remember seeing I think it might have been like Alabama, or it was something. It was a Georgia law, and it was like not one black person was signing that vote, and I'm like, or signing that bill, and I'm like, how is that I just think that there's a huge lack of representation in this country. And just really quick,
in regard to what you're saying, it's oftentimes that we're asking for something and it's white people making the decisions for us, or like you said, signing the bill into law. And so how is that true freedom or progression for black people? You know, progression for us was getting Joe Biden into office. That's not true progression. You know, and it's so funny because we have a lot of offline conversations, and I remember telling you guys, you know, in a group text, like, yeah, did you guys watch the inauguration today? And y'all just shitted on all my happiness, and I was so upset. And then I had to, again, I've learned so much, and I thank God for the group of people in my life because you guys challenged me. And then someone, I don't know if it was you or someone else, sent me this statistic of how many black homeowners are there, how many black people are still incarcerated, and so on and so on. Those are just the two things that I remember from the graph that you guys sent. And it's like, what is true progression, you know? And so what I will ask, one thing that I would appreciate as someone who's trying to really advocate for my people, and I know that you can't speak for all black people, but if you were to be the one right now, all eyes on you, to speak for black people, which you might not even want to answer this, what is it that we want? Like, what is some change that we want to see today, right now, you know? Because I'm going to segue into what they thought we wanted after you answer this question.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, so there are levels to like the human experience, right? Mm-hmm. There's like there's neutrality in like just having a normal experience without you're not having privilege and you're not oppressed, right? So first you got to get rid of the oppression, and just to get rid of that, that's still not like that's not reparations, right? Because you like, just if you got rid of the source of pain, like what about the healing now, right? Like I think Malcolm X was like, yo, like if someone stabbed me in the back 9 inches with a knife, 9 inches, and then they pull it out 3 inches, that's not healing, that's not repairing anything.
And pulling it out completely is not even healing.
Exactly. And not only that, like, but then where's the justice, right? You can be like, oh, well, see, look, we fixed it, we pulled it out. What about the person who stabbed me in the back, right? What about like how I'm wounded now, and now my life, everything I do, like I have this scar, I have this wound I have to carry in.
And the mindset of that violence, how many other people are like the person who stabbed them in the back, right?
Man, that's a whole nother story, man.
It is. And I feel like, again, going back to me being excited on inauguration day, I feel like that's like maybe a tiny inch, a half step of like moving in the right direction, because I think what we were able to see was that the Black vote mattered, and that we are able to mobilize. We have the power, right?
Right.
So that almost gave me chills. Like, in a sense, I could see how it relates to even just the message of Juneteenth when it finally reached those people. But going back, I lost my train of thought. So we're going to jump into this next thing. And we're going to close here because this was impromptu. Joe Biden signs bill into law making Juneteenth a national holiday. And the internet, our brothers and sisters, Black Twitter, is undefeated. I saw a lot of memes right away in response, like, this isn't what we asked for. This is similar to y'all taking Aunt Jemima off the box.
That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what I don't want to happen, because we're telling them this is not what we wanted, what I don't want to happen is for Juneteenth to lose its jubilee, its value, its celebratory value for us as people. So for a second, how would you encourage the Black community to celebrate and to reflect on Juneteenth?
Yeah, I mean, I know there's some people who don't even like to celebrate it because it's like it's just one of those things that it's like getting Black History Month in as a official month in the US. It's like, okay, that's cool, but what are you actually doing for me, right? And like, if you look 50 years down the line, like, oh, Juneteenth is a holiday, it could become the same thing. But what you said about reflecting, that's a whole nother thing. I think that it is a good way to reflect and look at, like, okay, what was the state of the world, back when Juneteenth had first happened, out in Texas, and what led up to that, right? And what has changed now, what is this progress, or whatever you want to call it. And I think reflecting is good to get a sense of reality, right? Because like that graphic that I sent you, I was like, yeah, well, I mean, it's like it's real. It's because while things may seem a certain way, it's like, let's look at the stats, let's look at the facts, right? What's the actual progress, right? Look at Tulsa, Oklahoma. Look at Black Wall Street, and that ain't the only one. What about Philadelphia? Like there are like there are maps. There are maps of all the Black massacres where Black people were thriving, and then their city was destroyed. There's a lot of those, unfortunately. And I bring that up to say, then what? What was the progress after that? There's no reparations done for the people of Tulsa, Oklahoma, who the Black folks who got all of their businesses destroyed, the families killed, right, and the property taken. And then what happened? That was over 100 years ago.
Can I just say something about that? As Black people, we that are thriving within this society, even when we pay our dues, we don't even get back what it is we're deserving of. In relation to that event that you just mentioned, the Tulsa Race Massacre, I was listening to a podcast. The people who were paying insurance on the property they owned didn't even get their insurance money. Like, they ignored it.
Yeah.
So I want to know what kind of is it collusion, or what kind of situation was happening where the insurance companies weren't even acknowledging what took place. And if you don't know what the Tulsa Race it's complete racism. Yeah. Because when your property is damaged, we have insurance, right? And you're supposed to get
reimbursed.
So anyway, as you were saying, I just wanted to acknowledge that not even other systems within this system would acknowledge what was right outside of law enforcement. I mean,
right. Like how many levels of collusion, racism, conspiracy, you know, do you want to like look at? Like there's all this evidence, there's all this evidence, years and years and years of like the government literally putting not just obstacles in our way, but actually attacking us, right? Killing us and doing all types of things. So it's like, yo, this because you make this a federal holiday, this doesn't go away, right? Just because you say, oh well, we're celebrating you now, that doesn't mean that the issue was solved. Right? It's like you know, it's like going to therapy and saying, oh, you finally came to therapy, everything is fine now. It's like, what?
Right.
It's like we didn't work on nothing. Like okay, yeah, this may be a good step in that direction, but in action, but let's not pretend like this is over. This is the beginning. This isn't the end, right? So,
and
I think it's good to reflect.
I feel like they want it to go away, so they do things like this so that it will just go away.
Exactly.
It's like, no, like our communities are still hurting, and then like apart from resources, there's emotional trauma, there's generational trauma, you know. But well, I want to just tell you thank you and apologize for cutting the conversation so short. Thank you for hopping on with me. You're the first person I thought of when I was like, who can have this conversation with me? But anyway, y'all still go celebrate Juneteenth, reflect. And I'm going to close with this. Next week, I'm going to have on my good friend Charles Opong, and we're going to talk about Black Music Month, which is ending in about 10 days here. We're going to talk about jazz and social justice. So, Jesus, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
Bye. Hey. It's Maisha. Thank you so much for tuning in today and listening to this episode of the Can We Talk podcast. My hope is that you're leaving feeling informed and perhaps even empowered to go find out more, or maybe advocate and take some action for yourself, your community, or someone that you love. Either way, Can We Talk is a space where we are continuing on our journey and we are allowing enlightenment and information to come in, because as we've heard for so long, knowledge is power. And the conversation doesn't end here. We have social media and we're always talking there. New content, new conversation. Hit us up in the comments. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Love Maisha. Or, of course, you can follow the Can We Talk podcast on Instagram at canwetalk.pod. That's canwetalk.pod. I hope to see you there to continue these awesome, empowering, informative, and enlightening conversations. It's Can We Talk. Okay, one more thing. We're dropping a new episode every single week, so make sure you go and subscribe wherever you get your podcast so that you know exactly when we do that. All right, until next time, my name is Maisha, always inviting you to have a conversation. See you next week.